Today, I want to share with you an amazing tool that I use with clients at Chandler Coaches, and it's called the Leadership Circle Assessment. This is a 360 assessment that gives an amazing snapshot of where you are today as a leader so that you can clearly see what is a great development path for me to take to become more effective in my leadership role. Whether that's you staying in the role that you're in and you want to just become better at it and feel more capable and have more freedom, or maybe you're getting ready to move up the ranks or transition into something different. Regardless of where you're at or where your goals are, having this really clear view of where you are today can just help you hone in on really what do you want to be working on, what should you be working on, because sometimes we think that the areas that need our focus the most is one thing, and then what the rest of the world sees is maybe something else. And that's why this can be so powerful, because it also shows, so you get to do your own self-assessment as a leader, and then everyone who evaluates you, we see their results and we can see the difference between the two. And often it's quite telling which leaders maybe think really highly of themselves or which leaders are very hard on themselves. And that can be a really interesting discussion in and of itself before we even dive into the rest of the circle. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the circle itself. And I'm going to share a little bit about my own results because I find that that's a great way for people to learn when we're not just talking hypothetical, right? So there's three things that you get whenever you do the leadership circle profile. You get a paper like this, and that shows your circle. So that tells us, that is like the visual that can really help us just hone in and see what we want to look at. But everything that goes behind that is presented in another way as well. So you actually get a report that has the data in both the raw numbers and in percentiles, and that breaks it down by the different groups that have assessed you so that you can see maybe there's certain areas that think of you in one way and other groups that think of you in another way. And that gets broken into your boss, your peers, your direct reports, and then we have an other category that can represent a number of different things depending on your situation. So lots and lots of data, and certain leaders will just dive right into it and want to like pick it all apart. So regardless of what type of learner you are, if it's the numbers or the visual, it's going to be a really great tool to help you really understand who you are as a leader. And then we also have open-ended comments. So everyone who evaluates you gets the opportunity to answer a few questions at the end where they can type out their responses if they want to add a little bit of something that maybe wasn't covered in the questions that they answer. So really robust feedback. And that's the name of the game, because how do we get better if we don't know where we are today, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about my own results. And I alluded to this in some stories a little while back. I am a high controlling leader. And that's hard for me to say. I know that I've been working on it because I actually have had these results for a while now. But it's really impactful just to bring it back to the forefront as well and say, okay, whoa, like what's going on here? Where are some of these tendencies coming up again for me, and what can I do about it? So I'm also very hard on myself, which was a clear evaluation through the entire thing. Where people said that I was strong, I rated myself lower. Where I thought I was really weak, they didn't see it in the same regard. So I found that very interesting. That was a very clear indication through almost every part of the circle. And I think I know that about myself. And if you know me too, because I'm a high controlling leader, I'm also very, very focused on achievement. And so I set the bar so high you probably can't even see it, nor can I at times. So I have to remember that it's not all about what I can get done all the time. That's a tough one to swallow. I even had a hard time just saying that there. So when you have a high controlling leader, what their mantra really is I am my achievements. So if you are someone who really feels proud about achieving things yourself, then you might also be a high controlling leader. And this can be great in many ways, because when you have a leader like this, things are likely getting done, right? So you are high on their perfectionist tendencies. You might be very, very driven and ambitious and autocratic. So there's a lot going on in that. And I keep looking at my circle. They're good. Like I just said, they're good things for many reasons, but then there's other things that if it's used too much, then it can really get in the way also, right? So I think we've all had those leaders who just dive in and do things themselves, right? So micromanagers, we don't love those. I don't love being one, but I think at times I probably am or have been. Because I want the achievement. I want it to get done. So if I'm thinking, oh, it's not getting done soon enough, or I'm worried that they're not going to do it the way that I want it to be done, maybe I'll just dive in and do it. And I'm likely not thinking about the relationships that's impacting at the time, because my focus is solely on, I want the achievement. I want the results. And that can be a very difficult pull between the two. If we were doing this assessment with you right now, or if I was assessing myself on it, I would note that the controlling tendencies are directly across from the relating competencies. And so if we're really high controlling, we're probably pulling away from the relationships that we're trying to build with our employees, colleagues, and everyone else. It's not fun, right? If you are trying to inspire this team, but you're diving in and taking control all the time, then they're probably just putting up their hands and saying, well, why bother? Because my boss is just going to do it anyway, or redo it. I never do it good enough for them or on time. So a lot of those things can show up. Another tendency of a high controlling leader like myself is not taking the time to stop and celebrate when you do reach those achievements. So we're all about them, but then it's like, okay, great, did that. What's next? I know that this is something that I've been working on too. And we all know leaders like this in our lives as well. So if we're always just moving on to the next thing and we're not stopping to celebrate, how do the other people in our organization know that they are appreciated? Because we're not taking the time to tell them that, right? So that's a big one there too. And when we're always in overdrive, we're burning out and we're exhausting ourselves, because we get all of our worth and our value from achievement. And it's scary to think about taking a step back, taking a day off or a week-long vacation. Imagine what? And not check your email while you're doing it. I mean, maybe taking the vacation would be easy, but a lot of leaders who are especially high controlling ones will stay plugged in while they're on vacation because they have such a hard time letting go. So it might be a fear of failure that's coming up there. There's a lot of different reasons that might drive someone to be a high controlling leader. But the key is knowing that that's how you present yourself, especially when you're under stress. That's where these things would come up the most. And I can definitely think back to the years that, when I was running big teams, big projects, if it was a lot of stress, then these are the things that would come up for me, because that was where I was scared and I was under pressure. And if I don't accomplish this, will people think less of me? What if I can't? So I better not say no. So many things, right? So now that I know this about myself, I can take a step back and I can see how the things that I'm doing are impacting the relationships. Am I truly mentoring and coaching my staff and giving them the opportunity to do the achievements or have the achievements for themselves? Am I collaborating with other departments and other people to make sure that I'm actually even seeing the full picture versus just diving in and getting the work done? Because sometimes that can be another tendency of us high controlling, is like, no, I got it. I know what needs to be done. I'm just going to dive in and do it. And then we're lacking that collaboration. We could be missing a whole big piece of the puzzle And then that's going to set us back, which we're not going to like. So there's a lot of different stuff that can come up here. And as I just said, the knowledge is power. So knowing this about yourself, then you can start taking the steps to say, I'm going to delegate more often, or I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to make sure that the other team that we're working with always knows what I'm working on. There's a lot of different ways that you can combat your controlling tendencies. And please know that they're not all terrible things. Being driven and ambitious and wanting things done right is great when we use it to a certain extent. But when we're overflexing that muscle, it really gets in the way, and then we're really not being as effective as we want to be. So if you really did want to get to that next level of leadership, or keep growing and climbing the corporate ladder, or building your organization, if you're an entrepreneur, these things are going to get in the way. It's going to make it hard. So learn these things about yourself now. Understand that you're not alone if this is the way that you show up, and know that there are things that you can do. So let me know. This is my jam. This is what I love to help clients with. So if you're interested in having a conversation about what it would be like to do this assessment for yourself so that you could get the results and get some coaching on what that looks like, I would love to chat. So let me know. Thanks.